Disappointment, what will you do with it? Will it make you stumble or will it mature you? Because what you do with disappointment, it matters. We've all felt it when a stranger shows no compassion, when someone you love breaks a promise, and yes, even when you've prayed and God didn't answer the way you expected. In those moments, the pain is real, but so is the choice. Joseph knew disappointment. His brothers were disappointed and jealous, and they turned that pain into betrayal. But Joseph's disappointment didn't turn into revenge, it turned into refinement. He kept walking with God, and later he could say what the enemy meant for evil, God turned for good. So today, don't deny the disappointment, bring it to God. Let it reveal what needs healing, what needs adjusting, and what needs surrendering. Disappointment is not your ending, it might be your development. We'll be right back.
My past does not define me. Its purpose was to refine me. God, He took my broken pieces to transform and renew me. Now, beautifully reconstructed. Beautifully reconstructed. I'm beautifully reconstructed. Beautifully reconstructed. I am. Let's talk. Let's heal. Let's live.
Great morning. I am Michelle Patrice Wade, host of Beautifully Reconstructed. We are the ministry devoted to helping others discover that God can use the brokenness of their past to beautifully reconstruct them and launch them into their divine destiny. On this morning, we will have a panel discussion with men, and I am excited about it to hear their perspective on my book, No Longer Satan's Whore. Now, I am not going to introduce all of these men. I am going to allow them to introduce themselves. So help me welcome as they introduce themselves the men who will be joining me on this morning. Great morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
Morning.
I am going to have you individually, of course, introduce yourself. We'll start with our men on virtual. And Joseph, could you go ahead
Hey, how
and...
you doing? I'm Joseph Darby.
Good
What do
morning.
you like?
Sorry. Good morning, y'all. My name is ASAP Darby.
My name is Mark Wade.
And I'm Tavares Cook. Good to meet you guys.
Good morning, Michael Sutton.
Good morning. I'm Alan Pruitt Jr.
I got to think my vocabulary.
Yes.
This way I didn't get to mess up Alan's name either. So yes.
That's another story.
As you know, of course, this morning we are, again, thank you all for joining me. It's definitely a privilege to have your perspective. We're going to talk about some areas of the book. Now, of course, we know that this is my journey. So I'm going to share parts of the journey from the book with you all and have you give your perspective on how it may have affected you in your life's journey. Because we know that sometimes things are the same, but they look different. Okay, so I'm no longer Satan's whore. Of course, it's a journey from redemption, from darkness to redemption. And I am going to read first a little bit of the introduction. So before we jump on in, the introduction says, over the years, I've experienced unimaginable situations that are phenomenal in retrospect. I've learned to accept these events as part of the process because they have shaped me into the person I've become. I'm sharing my story because there are individuals in the world who are hostage to their circumstances, who are stuck with seemingly no way out, helpless and hopeless. I hope you will find your way after reading my story, uncover the strength you never knew you had, and accept yourself, every part of yourself, the good and the bad. I went down the rugged road and am now free of the bondage, no longer Satan's whore. It is a highly profound statement. Many people know of Satan, but what do we know about his power? Perhaps you do not know much of it if you've been trapped in a web of deception under his stronghold. Most people know of God, but what do we know about his power? Perhaps you do not know much if you are trapped in a web of deception away from his protection. That's all I'm going to read of the introduction. So, based on the introduction, we see that, of course, I will be sharing my journey, as the subtitle says, My Journey from Darkness to Redemption. And so, no longer Satan's whore, of course, when we think of and even in the introduction, we talk about the fact of the definition of what a whore is. You know, we always think about it being sexual. However, we know that biblically, the children of Israel were called whores over and over because they were actually bowing to idol gods.
Yeah.
And so when we think about your life's journeys and the things that you bowed to, the things that you allow the enemy to get you trapped in, any one of you can jump in and tell me what that something in your life that the enemy has had you going through that journey of going through the wilderness round and around.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. So the question is how open are we being with this conversation, man? Because it's very raw.
Oh, we're
Okay,
the
well-
title itself says that I'm
You want to make sure. Well, if we being, I don't have a problem with being transparent.
Absolutely.
Because the reason why I say this is because everyone has a thing. Everybody has that very thing that they are ashamed of. Everybody has a thing that they don't want to talk about. Mine is pornography, and how pornography almost took my whole marriage out. And because at the end of the day, it's just not taking my wife for granted, taking my relationship for granted, and also a sense of loneliness as well. Because we all know that men, we are physical beings, and we have to have that attention. My attention went towards that, man, because of the lack thereof. Not trying to get real deep, man, but it did have a stronghold. Until I took the time to sit down with my wife to say, okay, this is what it is. What do we need to do to get this under control? And so the enemy has a way to have you go back to that when you are in a lonely place, right? But I do feel like that the Holy Spirit can arrest you to a point where when we know that God's presence is omni, he's always there, he's always watching, because in hindsight, we always feel like there's nobody here. I can do this, right? But it was conviction for me once the last time it happened. I'm like, God, you have to forgive me. He said, I don't forgave you, but now it's on you, right? And so once I made the decision to confront the enemy, I think that's what we have to do as believers. We have to confront the enemy to say, okay, I will no longer allow you to take control of my mind. So now, once you remove that set, then now you got to replace it with something that's gonna keep you whole, right? And so once I had that wrestle, I had a man in the mirror moment. I think we talked about that once before.
Yes.
And once I had that, I had to have constantly, like, dude, come on now. And so looking at this title, man, I'm like, yo, this is deep, because that very thing that you struggle with, can take you out if you allow it to. But I ain't gonna keep going. We got all these great men, so I'm gonna pass the mic.
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
You gonna jump in?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, everybody's thing. It's something interesting that Satan is very strategic in, is that everybody's issue is not the same.
Right.
You might like chocolate ice cream. I like vanilla. And so he's not going to tempt you with the exact same things. And so, it may not be pornography. It may be something that's not seemingly sinful. I have dealt with insecurity, insecurity issues, and not from the sense of, doing so much stuff that people will say, he always there. He gonna do that. Getting up out of the bed, 12 o'clock midnight, leaving my wife in the bed because somebody said they left something at the church, and to be there, and to be the first one there and the last one to leave, and staying at like 3 a.m. in the morning and those kind of things. But it wasn't for the sense of doing it for God. Honestly, God was the last thing on the list. It was doing it for the acceptance of people. And so that's why I say everybody's thing is not the exact same thing. And some of it, again, may not seem sinful.
Right.
But it's the motive behind it as well. And what detriment or what damage it can do. It hurt. This is my second marriage. And so I learned so much of so many things out of that.
Right.
And again, in those little things, it's those little things that trap us, that we don't think is a big deal. You know, because that's how even different things can begin to grow.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because
Yes.
ain't nothing wrong with that. Okay, it's okay to do that. It's okay to talk on the phone with her.
Right.
This is my coworker.
Right.
It's okay to talk. You know, those kind of things. For me, it even crept up, those kind of things. But I had to catch it real quick.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, you check yourself, because one is that we are the easiest people to fool yourself. You can fool yourself.
Yeah.
But also, you flip it, you don't fool yourself.
Because you know exactly what's
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Of course.
Exactly.
I think for me, my biggest thing has been, which I think it can be simple as well, is the fear of disappointing others.
My God.
Because you have to become so many different people to keep people happy, right? And it's not a thing that, it's not necessarily that I feel people are like pressure me to be someone I'm not. It's just that fear of maybe not making decisions that you know are best for you, out of fear of how others may perceive that decision.
Yes.
And again, you end up trying to become so many different people, and you kind of really you lose who you are.
Right.
Because man, I can't.
I gotta be here.
I can't disappoint this person. I gotta say yes to this. I gotta say yes to this. Gotta say yes to this. And then ultimately, you end up saying no to the things you should be saying yes to.
Amen. That's
Right.
good.
And even
Which is most of the time probably no to yourself,
no to yourself.
because we've been trained in that.
Yeah.
That you decrease and you do so much. Don't make it self-focused.
Yeah.
Don't make it about you. You
Yeah.
do for everybody else until we've gotten lost in that. I
Yeah.
believe.
Or if you're married, you end up saying yes to everything else, right? And then you end up saying again no to yourself and to the people that mean the most to you, which in marriage, in a lot of cases, can be your wife or your spouse.
Yeah. Somebody told me this yesterday. They was like, "Are you willing to make this percentage mad in order to fulfill your purpose?" Right. And I do feel like that the purpose really starts, it lies within, and then it goes out. Because if you're willing to say no to this percentage that's gonna always be upset with you, this dwindles down, because now everything else, it begins to grow, because that was what you were designed to do. I think what we end up doing is, as individuals, we take on other folks' assignments and make it our own,
Right.
and then we lose who we are. It's almost like being an actor. How long you gonna stay in that character?
Right. That's good.
Because now, once you in that character, who God made you to be gets packed down, deep down, and then you become what this book says. You get what I'm saying? And so now you got to you typecast. So
typecast.
now you got to dig up all this trauma that you have packed down to get to who you are. To say, okay, now who I really am looks really, really good. It's attractive. Not what Alan got going on, not what the next person have going on. No. What God has for me is what my wife needs. What God has for me is what my children need. What God has for me is what the world needs. Not everybody else that's packing on their issues and going off about their business.
And to add to that is that you begin to take on so
Yes.
much of other people's stuff that your stuff get compacted down there that you can't even address it because you're dealing with everybody else's. And I have this saying, everybody don't want you to say yes to everybody's stuff. but everybody wants you to say yes to their stuff.
Don't be a yes man.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to learn that. Stop being a yes man. It's okay to say no. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
I learned it the hard way. I know with me, in 2014, it was just so much going on. My wife left. First married, my wife left. My sister had breast cancer. I didn't have a job. My house was in foreclosure. I'm saying like, what is going on? And suicide thoughts came. Had a knife in my hand in the kitchen.
Wow.
And my son walked up in there and I put it down. My youngest son. And I'm like, God, what is going on? I said, I don't understand this. And I never forget, before my first wife left, I was going to get me and my boy something to eat at McDonald's. And I literally heard God say, let her go. I said, God, how? I ain't working. I don't, let her go. And then, so that's why I say it's so important to be obedient. People always talk about sacrifice. Obedience is better than sacrifice.
Yeah.
So that when I was obedient, it's like everything else, it started falling into place.
Yeah.
And so, and then one of my homeboys, he introduced me into a men's Bible. It was like a men's Bible study, men getting together, talking and everything. And I was first time I ever seen men cry, express. Cause I always tell men don't cry, man,
Yeah,
be tough,
talk
be
that.
tough, dry them tears up. And that was the first time I ever seen it. And so like I was telling them all the stuff I was going through, they were praying for me, man, it helped out so much. And then all of a sudden you just like you can almost make people idols, even though you ain't realize you doing it. But I realized I was doing it. I wasn't doing it intentionally, but I was doing it.
Yeah.
And I was seeing myself doing it. And then after everything fell, I was like, I didn't put you first, God. I didn't. I
We
put
need to talk
everything.
later.
I put everybody ahead of you. I had God maybe. I just be honest. I had God maybe about 4th or 5th.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, that's honesty.
Just be honest. I had him 4th or 5th because I will pray about things, but then he was on the bottom of the totem pole. He wasn't what he's supposed to be. And so if you put him on the bottom of the totem pole, guess what? Everything else gonna mess up.
Everything gonna mess up.
And like what you said, I love what you said about obedience. When you're obedient, things fall into place. Cause you flip that around. When you're disobedient, everything falls apart. And you're just trying to make it, and you're doing it in the name of the Lord. You might be doing it.
It's funny that you say, I'm reading this book, man, and that was one of the things that the guy said inside the book. He said, you do things in the name of God when it's not actually God. It just sounds good.
It sounds good.
You see what I'm saying?
It sounds
He
good.
put God on top of that thing. I can see God now. I didn't tell you to do that. Can you just see him he's like,
I almost look at it like this.
I didn't tell you to do that.
And I almost look at it like this. Sometimes we'll do something out of God's will, then we just stamp a label on and say, "Oh, hey, that's God." No, it's not God. That was you.
Yeah.
And he know my heart.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's the worst thing you can say.
Spirit told me.
Yeah.
He told you nothing.
Yeah. And it's a lot to unpack, and I'm gonna I'm gonna unpack some of what they said first, and then I'm gonna allow you gentlemen to jump in. One of the things that Alan stated was insecurities. Now, when we think about insecurities can lead us through different paths, and those paths often lead to no good. It can lead to fear. We start to people please, trying to make, and one of the things that I've learned is that, sometimes we have a fear of failure. However, we also have a fear of success. And so, when we think about the insecurities and even going to pornography and the fact that, we're insecure because we don't want anybody to know our secret. And, but we, in front of everyone, when we are, one of the things that this ministry says constantly is that transparency heals.
Oh yeah.
Because when you are transparent first with God, it gives you an opportunity to have a real and authentic conversation. He already knows
Yes.
However, but when he wants us to come and confess, right, when we have that conversation with him, then it gives us an opportunity to unpack those things.
Yes.
Because going back to the idols, we can make everything around us an idol because we're trying to feed into our insecurities. We're trying to not be fearful. And so people will prop us up. And so we'll get to the place where we are allowing everything else to become before God. My apostle Angela, she likes to say that, how you gonna do God without God? And oftentimes we will say that we're operating in our purpose, but yet we have allowed even sometimes this, and this is one of my constant prayers, is that God don't allow even the ministry that you gave me to become an idol.
Oh, yes.
Because oftentimes we will get so involved in it that we take away from the time that we should be getting direction
Yes.
from the Father on how, because even my business, I always say that God is my CEO and I'm the COO because he gave me the business, and so I need my direction from him. But how am I going to get it if I don't spend time with him?
Exactly.
And so we can't even allow the things that he's given us to become idols in our lives.
Yeah.
Can I say something on that?
Absolutely.
And Tavares would know about this. About idols and what he has given you, has given us. Me personally, I've been in a ministry where, I know God sent me there, and I know that he had me to do this. But then it began to grow so much into so much stuff. My responsibility was responsible over almost all the stuff. And so being, as I said, being the first one in, but then God wasn't even on the top of nothing. It was like, okay, gotta make sure the sound right. Tavares, are you here? Okay. Is the sound? What about the screens? Words on the screens? My singers. Oh, my singers here? Oh, they're not here. Okay. Oh, I need to call such and such. God was at the bottom of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I had to be honest with that and saying, God, you really ain't in this.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't have you involved. Involved ain't about you. It's about making sure this production
Yeah.
is put on.
Yeah.
And as you said, then that which God has given you, again, all of this becomes an idol. But that reminds me in the Bible where Moses was told to put up the serpent and everybody look upon it, and you'll be healed. Then you read on, Hezekiah tear down the very thing that God said to put up.
Yeah.
Because now it has become an idol, and the people and now we're looking at it as that, and that's why some things sometimes they fail.
Yeah. That's good, man.
Well, I don't want to go too farther along before we get Joseph and Asaph to chime in.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I was really just listening. You all were saying some amazing things. I think it's funny, as I was listening, I was really analyzing everything that was said, and I was like, wow, literally everything that all of you said, including you, Patrice, is something that I've dealt with. Literally everything, like a combination of it all. And I think it's very interesting because I'm a very, very, very self-aware person. I have no issue taking accountability, ownership, and I'm grateful to God for that because it actively allows me to work on myself. It also actively puts me in a position to where I'm true with myself and I'm honest with myself about where I'm at and what I'm dealing with. And so I just thought it was interesting because I look at different areas of my life and I'm like, wow, I overcame this, or wow, I'm dealing with this, or wow, I'm faced that 10 years ago, and like, for example, something I got over within the last few years was being a yes man. And it was very interesting because I was always that person where, you could call me and it's like, yes, like no problem. And that is who I am by nature, but there's a side of it that is very detrimental to your health. And that was the struggle for me with finding the balance. And then I met my wife, and then if you know my wife, you know how opposite of that she is. She's more like no first than yes later. Not in a negative way. It's just that the way she puts it all the time is, I can't, if I'm always pouring from an empty, a cup that's half empty, eventually my cup is going to run out. Then I won't have a place to pour from.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, I said, that's really, really true. And so she has the type of heart to where it's like, I'm going to help you until I can't help you anymore.
That's right.
And when she can't help you anymore, you're going to know when she can't help you anymore, because she's going to be honest about it.
Yeah.
And it's really just a way to self-protect, because just like the analogy of the airplane, when you're on an airplane and something happens, they always tell you to do what? Put your mask on first.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, but very often in our lives, we go out of our way to put other people masks on first. And then what tends to happen is sometimes we get a little too comfortable doing that until that one time where we put someone's mask on it, and now we're struggling to breathe.
Yes.
And the problem with a lot of us, especially me, is I would put myself in a position where I'm struggling to breathe so many times.
Yeah.
Now I'm over here having an asthma attack. And
Yeah.
out of that, and it's like, okay,
That's-
what needs to change here? So it took me a while to realize that people pleasing was another one that came up.
Yes.
People pleasing was, I dealt with a very, very, very tricky version of people pleasing. It's not the type where it's like, oh, I'm trying to do this or do that to fit in. It was very, very, very tricky. I dealt with the one that you care a lot about what people think, but it's almost like in a healthy way, but this is where it can be unhealthy. The confusing part is you look at the expectations that people have for you, but then you compare that to the expectations that you have for yourself.
Right.
And oftentimes those lines are blurred and those lines get crossed.
Yes.
And the problem with that is you never know when you're starting to just do XYZ because of them or do XYZ because of you. And that is a very, very, very tricky place to be in, because it's like, now you're dealing with, hey, people in your ear saying you don't have to do this, which goes hand in hand with the yes man mentality.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but I'm big on my character, I'm big on this, I'm big on how people view me, and I definitely don't like false narratives being spread about me. And now you're in this situation where it's like you're stuck in the vortex of trying to figure out, dang, am I doing it for them, or am I doing it because I have high expectations for myself?
Amen.
It's a very, very, very tricky thing. I don't mean to keep rambling. I'm gonna stop
that's
right
good,
there.
though.
That's good stuff.
That's good, man.
That's good.
Man, I wish I would have went first. Some big shoes to fill from all of y'all. I can honestly say I can relate to each and every one of y'all in certain aspects, from dealing with pornography, from dealing with insecurity. Yes, man, just a little bit of everything. One, growing up fast, had to take on a lot of responsibility. So that kind of put me in a place where I had to take care of everything. And once I got married and stuff like that, and life started happening, and transitioning from jobs, and then the job market it's hard to find a job that's paying enough to take care of everything and stuff like that. It put me in a place where it's like, man, in a weird space, because I love taking care, like I love providing, I love making sure like the people that I care about is taking care of, like my wife and kids. So it's like when I wasn't able to do that, I felt like something was taken away from me. Like I felt like I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Even in with pornography, it was just like dealing with that high stress of making sure bills and stuff was taken care of. It put me in a place where I was alone. My thoughts rambling. I just need somewhere to kind of de-stress. And that was a big comforting thing for me. Even growing up as a kid, it just dealing with everything, and that was my comfort food. Per se. Even being a yes man and stuff like that, what helped me get through that was going on a trip with my mom. I forgot where we were going, but a big thing for me is when people call me selfish. I feel like when people call me that, because they don't know me and they don't know what I had to do or the things that I sacrificed, having a lot of siblings, having to grow up fast, having to kind of be the last one to sometimes get whatever it is. Being called selfish, it's a trigger point for me. And it's like, man, like I do a lot for someone to call, for anyone to call me selfish. So when me and my mom was talking and stuff like that, I expressed how I felt about that. She was like, well, you at this point where you're married, you have kids, it's okay to be selfish. Like, and not in the aspect of like me saying just no to everything and all that, but just it's okay to focus on you at this point. You've done a lot. She said, your dad and me, we're in a better place now to where, you ain't got to worry about taking care of everything and everyone and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I said, I can relate to all of y'all. And I know I'm maybe like scatterbrained because there was a lot of information and jewels that y'all was giving. But yeah, just like I said, I can relate to everyone. Yeah. With everything, yeah.
That's some good stuff. Now, let me tell you, when ASAP was speaking, I found myself so much in that because of the fact that, I don't like even now at 52 years of age, I still, thank you. I still find myself, challenged with saying no at times, feeling as if, and even what Joseph said, feeling selfish in that moment, because I care and I'm so compassionate about others and I want to make sure that everyone is okay. However, sometimes in doing that, I'm not okay. I may be going through something and I may just need a moment. I may not need to take away from my self-care in that moment, but because I'm so accustomed to doing it, I struggle sometimes not to. And when I don't, then I still have to process it in a way where I'm going to God, well, God, was I wrong? I'm going back and forth and it wasn't. No, it was a whole statement. Yeah. And I'm learning that through maturity that it's okay to take care of you, and it's okay to sometimes be selfish, because sometimes if you don't take the time to care for you, then those who rely on you, sometimes they're not even being selfish. Yeah. Right. We set sometimes expectations for others, because we have allowed them to lean on us so much, because we've said, okay, well, we'll always be here. They've now had that expectation and they just think that we're okay. And so sometimes you have to say, no, I'm not. And that's okay, but sometimes we feel, I know for me, I've been the one who has been the shoulder to lean on so much that I've been accustomed to being that shoulder. And I won't say no because I want to make sure that they're okay above me. And that's not okay. Even when Asaph talked about the pouring from an empty cup, you can't. Yes. If you turn over a cup that's empty, nothing's coming out. And that's the same with us. Spiritually, we're drained. Emotionally, we're drained. And we're trying to give something that we just don't have. And then it leaves us depleted. And again, even going back to our purpose, there are times that I've said yes to a thing and I've intended on doing something for my purpose and I didn't get it done because I've said yes because of the fact that I didn't want to disappoint someone else. I hate disappointing others, but sometimes I will disappoint God and myself. Now make it make sense, like the young babies would say. So, I love the fact that we have, that, even when we talk about being self-aware, as we grow and mature, we have to self-reflect. It is inevitable. We cannot go through this journey without doing that, because if not, we continue in the same cycle, going back to the same thing, doing the same thing, exhausted and tired and sick of ourselves. But because we won't take the time to take accountability, then we continue in this path that is destructive.
Today's special episode was just the beginning of a 2-part journey through healing, truth, and transformation. So be sure to join us next week for part 2 as Michelle and her guest continue to share deeper revelations, raw conversations, and divine insight from her inspiring book, No Longer Satan's Whore. Also, don't forget to get your copy today on Amazon.com. to transform and renew me now. Beautifully reconstructed. Beautifully reconstructed. I'm beautifully reconstructed. Beautifully reconstructed.